Yo! People don't care about motorcycle riders at all. Welcome back to the Freemiles MC, and we're today here with the Suzuki SV 650, and we're going to answer if this is still an adequate bike for today's time. And with that, welcome back to the Suzuki SV 650 2020 review. The Suzuki SV 650 is one of the few bikes that you can still get with a V-twin nowadays, which is amazing. A 90-degree V-twin with 650cc. This engine delivers 75 horsepower and 64 Nm of torque, which is quite a good mid-weight package. And of course you have with a V-twin the characteristic V-twin sound and also the V-twin engine characteristic that many people try to get at with the whole 180-degree crossplane thing, but this is still the real deal. So the bike weighs 200 kilos, and for a bike like this, a bit unconventional and limiting the tire sizes, has a 160 rear tire, but on some bikes that can also be an advantage. So let's see how that is with this particular machine. When it comes to electronic systems, the motorcycle has ABS, and that's all. This bike has no rider modes. This bike doesn't have a throttle by wire. This bike only has ABS and cable throttle, so it's a really bare bones experience. There's some reviews on this bike out there from the same year that says it has like 8 rider modes and all that crazy stuff. That must be a different trim or something, because that's not happening here. When it comes to the suspension of the bike has only preload adjustable suspension, so it's all really bare bones, and it has an upright ride suspension. So let's hear from Takis, the owner of this machine, what he has done with this bike so far, why he bought it, and what his Suzuki SV 650 is for him. So, welcome Takis on the channel. Really nice. Yeah. So,
hi everyone.
The wind is fucking.
The wind is really bad, guys. Miles is really trying for you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2020 model. So yeah, I bought it brand new, 2020. And the things I've done that most make a difference is the exhaust. I have an air filter. I have changed the seat. Custom seat, and as far as performance and handling, that's it. Then it's like cosmetics. I've done something with the guard of the chain, and then I've put like a radiator guard also. I forgot about that, and that's it. Yeah, I bought it. My previous bike was a KTM RC390, and the experience was really good, like a big eye catcher, the RC, but I had some issues with the bike. So after selling that, I said, okay, I need something that probably won't break the bank, and it will be like extremely reliable. So I went with a safe bet. I knew this bike, I knew this motor. It's already really well known from the V-Strom. So yeah, I said it was in my budget. I needed a new bike because probably I would keep it forever. So I chose the SV.
Yeah. Definitely thanks for your look into why you bought this machine. I tried to shelter you from the wind as best as possible for the audio. So, the bike has a seat height of 75 centimeters and 8 millimeters. And I'm 6'5" or 1.96 m for reference. That tends to really push basically how you sit on this bike when it comes to the knee angle. The whole, like, how it feels on the tank, it's all fine. Only thing is a bit the knee angle. And with the arms, yeah, you feel like you're a bit tall for the bike at my size. Takis is 1.85 m, so around 6'1", and he told me that you're at the limit of what the bike can handle. So yeah, that's so far with the specs of this machine, so let's get this bike on the road. So it's here today, incredibly windy. So, at least something with a bit of the heat. So, this bike really sounds amazing. Like, you can really hear the V-twin sound. We're now making our way down this mountain road. We need to be a bit careful because Greece is not really the place for good asphalt. Like, the asphalt here is incredibly slippery. Yeah, the handlebars so far feel very narrow, I have to say. Yeah, you don't actually have to lean the bike far because of its 160 tire. Like, the 160 tire does a lot of the work for you, because the thing with a more narrow tire is that you don't have to work as much for the bike actually to go around bends. Like the thing with the 130 tire is that it allows you to carry more speed because you don't have to lean the bike that far, which is also an advantage in general when riding the bike on street, because the thing is you don't always want to lean the bike to those insane degrees, especially not here in Greece. Because here in Greece the street is just slippery. Yo! People don't care about motorcycle riders at all. I definitely like the torque of the bike so far. One thing here while going into traffic, it depends a bit on your country how much this bike costs, but this bike costs around 7 grand, the lower 7 grand in my home country. The price of this machine in specific, he told me that the bike was 6,800 bucks for him, and for 6,800 bucks this is a really good package, I have to say. You don't have an anti-hopping clutch or anything. You can actually lock up the rear tire by downshifting. And the bike has some grunt to it, most definitely. You can feel the 72 horsepower and especially the 64 newton meters of torque. And pacing power definitely there as well. This bike kind of seems to be the everything answer. Good beginner bike, SV650. Second bike, SV650. And it's because it's like so in the middle of all these worlds, basically. Sadly, we're today really plagued by traffic. But I mean, we just got to accelerate the bike quite a lot and accelerate through all of third gear, and the bike will definitely not scare you, but it's still like enough power, which is really good because you want the bike to be usable. You actually want to ride the bike, and 75 horsepower is a really good spot. It doesn't have the whole like yeah, this is nothing feeling. I have to say the bike handles well. The suspension basically has only preload adjustability, and for that it does fine. Like a comparison would be the Yamaha MT-07, and the Yamaha MT-07 tends to kind of suck, especially the front end. Like, I mean, it's a really fun bike, but the suspension pogo sticks all over the place, and yeah, you don't have that here. Even though, of course, you still have the very rugged, really basic upside right suspension, and you feel that that's not really 2020. This ride is really nice to just like ride as your bike here on the street, as like you don't have to risk much when leaning the bike because the bike doesn't require that much lean angle. Oh shit, what is that? Is that a wildfire? Yeah, just for context, it's very hot here in Greece at the moment. Yeah, while we're currently chilling behind this group of cars, let's have a look at the dash. The dash is, you have a good overview, you get a lot of information, you have fuel meter, you have, it says how much fuel you're consuming, you have kilometers, how fast you're going, you have a clock, a RPM, everything. Still not a fan of the thing. Looks very utilitarian and makes the bike feel old. It's very like Casio clock-ish. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is a motorcycle built to a price. Here, when going downhill, we get a good feeling for the pressure point of the brakes, and you can squeeze the brake lever quite a lot, and then it also at some point really starts to work, but like not in a bad way. It's not like you don't have brake power or anything. It's just that it really allows for easy progressively braking into a turn. And if you then like need the power, it also has the power, but it's like not that you're going to touch the brake and flip over frontwards. Like that's not going to happen, and that's really nice. The bike feels comfortable on the side of the tire when leaning it over, and it doesn't jump around. It lays nicely in the curves. The suspension doesn't seem to handle bumps in the turns that nice though. The bike definitely handles well enough for a street bike. It's now not like crazy phenomenal that you think like, ooh, wow, something like with the Honda 750 Hornet, but it does its job. That's really what you can say very well, very often as a summary for this machine. It does its job. It's basically its main characteristic. I'm not that much of a fan of the narrow handlebars on this one, because you actually have to give the bike quite a lot of input to get into the turn, and oh, the wind. And then the small handlebars don't offer a good leverage, so you really have to work, and you have to work more than you would have with something that is a bit wider. So yeah, the Suzuki SV650 basically does everything alright, but nothing exceptionally well. With the bike basically not doing anything exceptionally well, it brings me to one of the big points. The engine of this machine is incredibly reliable. It has proven over time that it's an incredibly reliable platform, and like that's also why this bike has been built for 25 years and why these ones are still going strong, as you basically can buy a bike that will just last forever and do everything that you want it to. One thing I do have to say though, sadly, on the negative side of things, I'm not going particularly fast in this machine, as the thing that I'm lacking on the Suzuki SV650 is confidence, actually. Even though it handles well to a degree, it doesn't really handle my weight. I'm now back from the test ride. I sadly had to cut the test ride a bit short because we don't have the tool for adjusting the preload setting on the bike with us, and it is the first time that I'm experiencing this. I'm not 100% able to ride the bike because of the preload adjustable setting due to my weight. For context, I'm around 103 or 227 pounds. With then the backpack and with the gear, it can become close to 120. And sadly, that's kind of the limit where the bike is. Just to set the record straight, this is an issue that sometimes arises with reviewing motorcycles, but not to this degree. Even with bikes that are not really made for my size, like the Ducati Scrambler. All these bikes work in the stock preload setting. But with the Suzuki SV650, I could really feel the bike struggling over bumps, and I was worried that the bike would slide out underneath me if I hit a bump inside a turn. But apart from that, the handling was satisfying. I think if we would adjust the preload, it would probably work. We're now here, and let's try to get some summarizing thoughts together on the Suzuki SV650. Because apart from this little incident, I have to say I'm actually quite happy with the bike. Yeah, it's kind of a bike that does everything satisfyingly well and still handles amazing on the street, especially with the 160 tire. And how does it handle for you with commuting, especially here in Athens, as Athens is quite a wild city when it comes to traffic? And yeah, how does it behave there?
Yeah, so as I was saying, that the handlebar might be a little bit short and, you know, close together with if you are a bit big in the arms. But in terms of lane splitting and going around cars, using it on the city, it's magical, because it makes the bike so easy. You can go nearly where scooters go, and maybe even more. You know, sometimes scooters, especially, you know, maxi scooters, get stuck, and with this bike you don't get stuck. It's really easy for town use and also economical, but that's another subject.
Oh, you just said that the bike is economical. Like, what kind of fuel mileage do you get on the bike? The dash said something like 4 liters per 100 kilometers. Is that roughly right?
Yep, that's close to it. Like, okay, if you're moving inside the city, maybe you will see like 4.5, 4.6. And if you are, the biggest I've seen is on a trip, but with a pretty big average speed. But that went like with 140 kilometers. With a naked bike, it's that much I can do. And it went like around 5 with the biggest, you know, fuel consumption. And then I've seen as low as 3.9, but that's nearly impossible to get because you have to ride like a 6th gear all the time and the bike lagging, you know. But 4.5, I think it's average. And
I mean, that is actually quite impressive, especially when keeping in mind this is basically almost now 25-year-old engine base, and for that it does really well. And I have to say, I really like the engine character. I like how it feels, I like the acceleration of it, and I like it really has this V-twin feeling, and you don't get that much. And the bike also sounds amazing. All in all, in that regard, it is a good bike. But sadly, although these good, really like street riding orientated things sacrifice a bit than the actual fun motorcycle riding part, where you like lean the bike into the turns. I was also noticing the lack of leverage you have on the handlebars, because especially in turns like we rode today, most of the time you don't really lean off the bike, but you lean the bike underneath you because you're going like less than 80 kilometers an hour, and that can be a bit harder to do. And but like if you would put a different handlebar on the bike, I think that the bike would have a really great potential for then also being really well rideable as like a fun bike. That's also why you see so many people converting these into like track bikes, because when you have the bike leaned over on the side, it feels stable. I now was not really able to completely push it to that point, and it felt a bit weird for me because I had the whole weight issue, but you could feel that the bike is stable in a turn. Like the front doesn't pogo stick all over the place like on a bike with like the MTO 7. That is, I think, the wind. Like, that is really nice, and it's really nice that people are able to basically do everything with this bike if they customize it slightly.
The word customizing is a big thing with this bike, because it's easy to make it your own in terms of not like cosmetics and that, but especially in the US, where this bike has a much bigger fame than Europe. They use it like they convert the forks with GSXR from the front ends. They put different shocks. They put body kits, full fairings, take it to the track. I've seen scrambler, real scrambler build-ups, like completely different suspension. The bike doesn't hold you back in terms of that. As much as you want to spend money and try to make it your own. I don't know. Maybe if you spend too much money, you could buy a different bike. But the bike gives you that, easiness of changing it and making it truly what you think the bike should be for you.
That is all in all really nice, and it's really nice that this bike can excel in all these different areas. But I sadly feel a bit like you have to do these things. Like if you have to put the bike into a certain direction, and then you have to modify it to a degree. This bike can be everything that you want to a decent degree if you modify it, basically. And its stock form, it's really good as a commuter, really good for riding around, and really good in the city. But if you want this bike to do anything in specific, you're not getting around modification, basically. But the modifications tend to be more on the cheaper side. You told me how much you paid for your exhaust, which is really nice. Like an MTO 7 most of the time needs like a full system, and then like a retune of the what is it, like
MCU mapping.
MCU mapping. Yeah, MCO mapping, exactly. And how did you customize the exhaust for this? Because you told me you paid like $400 for it, which is so cool.
Yeah, the exhaust brand new was like 400 and something bucks. And the good thing, because the exhaust is a slip-on, you can change the exhaust just by removing a couple of bolts here, and you don't have to remove the catalytic converter, so that's a plus if you don't want to fail in the tests. And then you put the slip-on, you get the sound, as you also notice, you get a pretty good sound without...
the sound is super amazing. Yeah, the sound is super amazing. Absolute, yeah, really good.
Yeah, so you get the sound, you get some performance, not something crazy, but okay. And you don't lose in terms of a lot of money and all that.
Yeah, that's, I think, all in all really good, and I feel like this is all in all a really good base. I feel for the price, with like, I think the party here definitely is on the used market. I feel like you have to get these bikes on the used market. Also, going back like all the different models, then you can get a really, really good deal. When it comes to buying the bike newer, maybe it's a good idea to take a little bit more money in your hand and go for the Honda Hornet. Yeah, I think all in all we can say that it's like on the used market, it's a really good bike.
Yeah, definitely.
A good deal. The only way to kind of get into a V-twin, and there's not much to complain except about if you're taller and if you are more heavy, because the fact that now in the stock preload adjustable setting, the bike is not really rideable and not really lean over built for me. I think if you would better adjust if we would now adjust the preload, it would probably be doable. But it's the first time now on the channel that like a bike is not really rideable in its stock preload adjustable setting, and that I really feel as soon as I lean the bike over a bit and there's a slight bump in the road, that the suspension just completely bottoms out, and I feel scared about the rear suspension to lean the bike. And you also told me that you basically already bring the bike to its limits with basically how you sit on the bike.
Yeah, I think I am in the upper limit, both in size and in weight. You know, I think perfect size for this bike is around 175, max 180 centimeters tall, with 80 kilos, 75 kilos. That's the potential target group of the bike. Both of us are a bit bigger, but yeah, it's a compromise for sure.
And so for you guys out there, not just the tall people, look out, also a bit for my overweight viewers. This can be a bit of a tricky one, but all in all, good bike. And is the question that we asked in the beginning, is this bike still adequate for its time? And I feel like the answer to that is yes, because you still get a V-twin, which is amazing, and it's amazing value for money, especially on the used market. Like on the used market, these bikes go from like $1,500 all the way up to $5,000. Depends on the different years and stuff. And you can get this year for around $5,000 on the used market. So yeah, I think it definitely keeps motorcycle riding alive for everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and feel free to subscribe and like, and see you guys in the next one.